As we all know, 2018's Advent Calendar was a huge hit. Now we have 2019's Advent Calendar, giving us a total of 48 cards. And this is my top 10 Advent Calendar cards. Number 10, Ghost Trick Jack Frost. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can change that opponent's monster to face down defense position. And if you do, special summon this card from your hand to face down defense position. Now, this is a card that we don't really see play with anymore, especially since you can't put a Link monster in face down defense position. But for a while, some people were occasionally running it in their decks. Just look at the artwork. How could you not include Jack Frost in this list? Number 9, Cockadoodledoo. If there are no monsters on the field, you could special summon this card from your hand as a level 3 monster. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no cards, you can special summon this card from your hand as a level 4 monster. If this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead. This card used to see play, but ever since Links became a thing, Cockadoodledoo has taken a back seat. Either way, it's still a tuner that you can special summon from your hand, and who knows, maybe we'll get a Link monster in the future that requires a tuner as material. Number 8, Firecracker. You can discard this card, quick effect, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent, and if you do, skip your next draw phase. You can only use this effect to Firecracker once per turn. Each time your opponent takes effect damage, place 1 counter on this card. Once per turn during the end phase, remove all counters from this card that were placed by its effect. And if you do, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each. This is a funny card that you can use if you are either running a burn deck or if you're going into time. If generators ever become good, skipping your draw phase could be an interesting play. This is a funny card that you can use if you're either running a burn deck or if you're going into time. If generators ever become good, skipping your draw phase could be an interesting play. Number 7, Performapal, Kuriboh. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, change the attack target to this card, and proceed to damage calculation. If you would take battle damage from that battle, you gain that much life points instead. This monster would be an interesting card to use in time. Also, it's a new Kuriboh, so what's not to like? Number 6, Gift Exchange. Both players banish 1 card from their decks, face down, and if they do, during the end phase of this turn, both players add to their hands the card their opponent banished by this effect. Let's be honest, no one knows what this card does and won't bother to fully read it. Chances are they'll give you a good card thinking they would be giving you a brick, only to realize that they gave you their best card for nothing and received a larvae moth in return. Number 5, number 82, Heartland Draco. While you control a face-up spell, your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card. This turn, this card can attack your opponent directly, but other monsters cannot attack. This card actually has a pretty strong effect. Plus, the only other option we had was a gold rare. So for those of us who would rather have a super rare, this is a plus. Number 4, Curio Born. At the end of the battle phase, you can discard this card, then target 1 monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle and sent there this turn. Special summon it. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target any number of Kuriboh monsters in your graveyard. Special summon them. The effect has potential, especially if you run a stun deck, and they end up beating over your Floodgate monster. If you are running a lot of Kuribohs in your deck, then the second effect can make for some spicy rank 1 XYZ plays. Number 3, Lonefire Blossom. Once per turn, you contribute 1 face-up plant monster, special summon 1 plant monster from your deck. This card should be self-explanatory, it's pretty broken, it's really good. It's not a hard once per turn, and you can special summon any plant monster from your deck. Number 2, Link Kuriboh. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card. Change that opponent's monster's attack to 0 until the end of this turn. If this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you contribute 1 level 1 monster, special summon this card. You can only use this effect to Link Kuriboh once per turn. Link Kuriboh is commonly seen in decks that have level 1 monsters or Scapegoat in their deck. This is one of the more meta-relevant cards in this list. And before we move on to number 1, we have a few honorable mentions. We have number 41, and we have Ghost Reaper, and we have Hey Trunade. Now, all 3 of these kind of miss the mark because they already have too many reprints already, especially Ghost Reaper and number 41. And Hey Trunade is just something that, it's a good card, it has a good effect, but it just hasn't really been meta-relevant. And it's pretty much right now the same price as the secret rares. So it's just not really worth mentioning to me. Except for as an... Ah, fuck. And for number 1, the best Advent Calendar card The chase card, the card everyone wants, the card that sells these calendars like hotcakes. Santa Claus. Okay, bye.